I started keeping notes, watching his every move. I noticed how he always seemed to be around when a patient took their last breaths. He would enter their room, sometimes alone, sometimes under the pretense of checking vitals. Moments later, the machines would beep their ominous tone, signaling the end. Days later, I followed him quietly from one ward to another. He didn't seem to notice me at first, but then came to an abrupt stop, as though sensing my presence. Turning his head slightly, he whispered, "You really shouldn't be out here by yourself, Amy." I froze. His voice was soft, but held something sinister underlying its gentle tone. I forced a laugh.
I'm just checking on the residents.
He chuckled under his breath, continuing down the halls as if nothing had happened. Trembling, I held my pen and wrote another entry in my little black book. A few nights later, I saw him creeping into the supply unit. I felt my heart race as I quietly followed a decent distance away. I peered through a small glass window to see him filling his shirt pockets full of syringes. I knew my time was running short. I explained everything. The pattern, the theft of the syringes, the suspicious actions of Charles. And they took me seriously, and we made a plan. I would stay on watch and call them when Charles made his next move. That night, I saw him again. He slipped another syringe into his pocket and headed towards the room of a man who had only been admitted the day before. I hastily messaged the officers waiting outside. With everything crammed with courage, I trailed behind him. I slowly stood just outside the door, looking through the small crack. What I saw made my stomach drop. Charles loomed over the patient as he whispered something I couldn't hear, standing there with a syringe as he prepared to inject.
Stop!
I continued, in a voice that rang through the room. He turned, his eyes dark, almost soulless. The syringe fit itself more snugly into his fingers. "Amy," he purred, "you mustn't be here." Before he could make his move, the police rushed in with a bang. "Drop the syringe!" one shouted. Charles clenched his jaw, his eyes darting to each officer and back to me. For a moment, I thought he might charge, but he hissed and dropped the syringe to a clatter on the floor. They were all over him, forcing him down. As they dragged him away, he turned his head toward me and smiled,